Alright, about the time here. I'm going to go to World Map. We're going to fly a 777 by CaptainSim from Bradley, BDL, KBDL, to LaGuardia. A route never flown, as far as I'm aware, on the 777-300 at max gross weight, which doesn't make any sense. We'll be landing 200,000 pounds overweight. I'm going to go VOR to low altitude airways. I'm going to do the Bradley 33 and ILS 22 at LaGuardia. Make it here. I'm also going to put myself at the gate. We're going to take it from a cold, dark airplane. The purpose of this is to show you I'm a real 777 captain. I know what I'm doing on the airplane. I can taxi it. I can take off. 20,000 hours, 2,500 in this airplane. But, no, this thing, start from gate 39, by the way. Clear skies, by the way. Yeah, I can hand fly it if I turn the auto throttle system off, the whole system. Real nicely, I have it set on modern mode for flight model. And I have, for the sensitivities, I have it on default. With the auto throttles off, not the auto throttles, but the whole auto throttle system, I'll show you that. It hand flies pretty well, pitch and power is pretty accurate. However, this is a 777 flight model, a 747 flight model on both their 200, 300, and their freighter. So it's a little funky. LNAV works okay. Sometimes it can even auto land. I won't do that at LaGuardia. Purpose of this demonstration is to cold dark airplane, fly over there, talk about some of the issues with the flight model of the CaptainSim 777. Some of the positive things. I love the way it looks. It does a lot of good things. It's a complicated process. Microsoft Flight Simulator can't taxi their airplanes. X-Plane evidently you can. Just don't have the knowledge. You can get the nose wheel to turn 70 degrees and only turn 6, which is the max rudder deflection with the rudder pedals. So you got to use differential braking, and when you do, it comes to a stop on these transport category aircrafts. Got to recycle the brakes, so it's a pain in the neck. But anyway, here we are at Bradley. I bought the scenery package for Bradley and LaGuardia, so that's why I'm making this flight. Also to demonstrate the extremely heavyweight, overweight landing at LaGuardia. Pretty good, pretty nice picture here. Okay, checklist here is not worth the time of day, honestly. You might want to download 777 checklist or something, but I'm going to just get it started. So batteries on, got two external powers, primary and secondary. When the APU starts, which will start now, the secondary will be displaced, primary will stay on in reality. Windows heat should be on already. Hydraulic pumps should be off, but they're on, that's fine. We'll get all the fuel pumps on. This is out of order. This will be done on later checklist, but we're going to do it now. Cross feeds are closed. Anti-ice system on this airplane is fantastic. It's all automatic. Really is fantastic. Anti-ice is all on. What else is out of place? Okay, engine bleeds, got to turn those on. Window heat's on. We might as well turn some lights on, just get ready. Beacon nav, that's all on. Turn the seatbelt sign on, tell the people to get ready. We're going to push back and start here. Okay. So I'm going to use this pushback app, which I'm not real good at. Manual pushback.
Cockpit to ground. This is ground. Stand by.
And if you look outside, you can see the tug coming up. He'll give us directions. I'm going to manually steer us. We're going to go off runway 33, which is right over here. So I'm going to have a pushback tail this way to the south, and we'll taxi out, turn as best we can, given the limitations in this simulator. And taxi takeoff. Try to do LNAV all the way to final approach at LaGuardia, and see if we can do a super heavyweight landing, flaps 30, maximum braking.
Okay, sir. The bypass pin is installed. All doors and hatches closed, and all ground equipment is removed. The parking brakes are set. You may lift. Parking brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
So these newer tugs, they lift the nose of the aircraft. So keep the brakes set. Some of the others just push you along with the nose.
Standing by for pushback.
Okay. Reverse.
Cockpit to ground. Go ahead. We are cleared for start and push. Parking brake set. Okay, cleared for push start. Please release parking brake.
Okay, we'll do that.
Parking brakes are released.
This is cool.
Pushback. You can
This
start
is called
the engines in sequence.
Toolbar
It will start in the sequence.
pushback. Toolbar pushback right here. I don't know how to use it real well. There's actually, you can pre-program a pushback. I played with it yesterday. Couldn't quite figure out. Now here, I can actually direct the tug. He said we could clear to start, so I'll get an engine started. Should have come off external, but it already went on there. APU air is available. I'll come out, and the 300 we start one engine at a time. 200 we start them both at once. Get it started. Engine administrator. Take a look at this. I'll get the engines called up on the secondary. 4 engines, right? That's wrong. And if you look in here on the display, you can see there's 4 engines, but we're only doing 2. So it's a triple. It's a 7.4 model. 7.4 right there as well. Hide the yoke for now. Going back to that later. Let's take a look at the push because we're going to direct him. I'm going to go tug this way. Try to turn onto the taxiway. This goes close, right? So we've done all this with ground naturally. And left engine is starting. Right about in there. I think that's pretty good. What do you think? Even I can do it from there. Stop the pushback.
Okay, pushback completed. Please set your parking brake.
And just push that. It sets the brake.
Parking brake set. Parking brake set.
Left engine
Lowering
is started.
aircraft.
Come up here. We'll grab the other one.
Ground. Startup is complete. You may disconnect. Roger. Good engine start. Cleared to disconnect. See you at the side. Have a good flight. Holding position waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
And he's off. I'm going to start getting the flaps. We would wait until we already had the salute to really move anything. All right, so parking brake's complete. A little bit about the engine start if you care. We're watching the N1 23, as you can see, is fully started. Watching the EGT. Right now we're starting numbers 2 and 4, and it's 777. So, of course, I jest. These 2 you can forget about. There's 2 engines, but it is a 7.4 model here. While we get these engines start, we'll be monitoring it. Index. Check the database. Make sure that's correct. Position. We should have done this at the gate. Do a quick align. KBDL. I always put that in here just to double check that the coordinates are reasonable, and we let that align. We should have done that at the gate. Departure arrival, departure out of Bradley. We'll do the Bradley 6 and runway 33 and the arrival. LaGuardia ILS 22. Execute that. Init. Index. Take a look at these N1s here. 87.9. It's a real short runway. I don't have access to any takeoff data here, but I do know this. So I'm going to go TO. So it goes 87.9. We push this, and you'll see we're going to get like a 97.9. 97.9 makes me happy. Now, if we wanted to, we could delete the assumed temperature, but that's not going to work. And VNAV, I'm going to go at 12,000 feet. The route, Bradley to LaGuardia, Bradley 6 all the way for the ILS on in. I don't know why that's not showing up. Let's try this again. Get under here. Try the departure arrival. Try it again. ILS 22. Yeah, it's just not showing up. That's okay. Perfinite. Anything else in here? Reserves. Usually it's around 14 if you get Newark as an alternate. And there you go. All right, so you get flaps 10. We'll put the auto brakes to RTO. Come up here. We'll do. I'm going to put all the lights on like we're cleared for takeoff. Only ones that are required by FARs is strobe, beacon, and nav. So here we are. Parking brake. And I think we're all set. Up on the flight mode control panel. Auto throttles are on. These are the two that you take off if you want to hand fly. In the real aircraft, you just hit the disconnect switch for the auto throttles and you can hand fly. But in this one, you got to turn those off. You won't be able to land the airplane. We'll say 10,000 is on cleared altitude. Runway heading, start off with a 330, whatever was on the HI-9. Try to LNAV it. I'll get the autopilot on above 200 feet. And let's see here. That all looks good. Let's check our speeds real quick, guys. Almost done. Takeoff. It's 208. So 208, which is very high V2 because we're at 772,000 pounds. We'll be fine getting out of here if it accelerates properly. Not so much getting into LaGuardia. Really have to talk about that later, but okay, it's good. We got company, don't we? Okay, a little bit about taxiing this bird. Microsoft Flight Simulator has all sorts of problems with their taxiing. Let me show you something. If I move the rudder pedals, see how it turns 70 degrees? So you can't get hold on, cycle the brakes. You can't get it, but the airplane, they won't actually turn. See that at 70 degrees, but the airplane won't turn 70. Alright, so anyway, I wanted to demonstrate that you are, in fact, getting the nose wheel steering turning. Alright, let's get going. The airplane doesn't necessarily turn, so it's difficult to taxi. The other thing is, if you put on differential brakes, you tap the left brake, it'll come to a stop. Let me do that. I'll tap the left brake, and the airplane comes to a complete stop. So you have to recycle the parking brake. So differential braking doesn't work. Sometimes the nose wheel steering, even though the tire appears with the rudder pedals, appears to be, turning 70, it does not, aircraft won't turn. There's the tiller over here, but that doesn't work either. So anyway, just wanted to demonstrate that for you. Okay, that aircraft is landing. We'll start taxiing up. We would ding the flight attendants by cycling the no smoking sign, and we'd say, flight attendants prepare for takeoff. We'll come up here. I'm going to swing a little wider. The reason I'm going to do that is the aircraft is tough to turn. I'm going to have to do some of that differential braking stuff, and it gets ugly. So let me put in some right rudder here. I got full right rudder in, and we're turning about 6 degrees, which is rudder pedal deflection. And try this at home. braking. I was clear. I guess this guy's not going to go, huh? We'll go around him. He'll probably take the runway right as we go. All right, so we got our lights all on for takeoff. We've let the flight attendants know. We've dinged them once to warn them of impending takeoff. And we're cutting in front of this guy because time's of the essence. I'm going to fly this giant airplane over to LaGuardia and land grossly overweight. Sounds like this guy's moving now. Yep, there he goes. All right, why don't we hold short? Hey, buddy. As you know, in Europe, they will have the American 107 Heavy after the departing A330 to taxi into position and hold runway 33. Line up and wait, runway 33. There he goes. So we'll go out and line up and wait. Again, ding the flight attendants with this no smoking sign. Differential braking to turn the aircraft. Sorry about that. Yeah, I wish they could figure out, assign a different access to nose wheel steering where it would work a little better. Of course, we wouldn't do this line up behind him, but it looks like he's rolling now. So what I'm doing is cycling the parking brake in order to play with it. Yeah, it looks like we're only getting about 6 degrees. I've got full left rudder in. We're left to center line. See this little line here? You put your right foot on the line. FO puts his left foot. This line, if it's on the center line, you know that's where your nose is. So I would guess we're a little right, cocked right, and we are. It's just the way it is. All right, so normally we would bring the front throttles up to 50% before we toga it, but today we're going to toga. We're going to fly out of here. Rudders to control the center line. .9. At 80 knots, we're doing an acceleration check. Doesn't appear to be accelerating though, does it? 80. I wonder if it has something to do with the brakes being... I don't know, guys. We'll just do an unstick maneuver here at the end. 12 to 15 degrees, V1. Right up to 12. Positive rate gear up. Yeah, the airplane was not accelerating. Simism. Might have something to do with me tapping the brake and the brake getting stuck, as I mentioned. That's what it seems to be doing. All right, let's try to demonstrate the autopilot here. Let it fly in an LNAV. There's the LNAV right there. And 1,000 feet, we'd start our cleanup. Times 5, you can go to times 1. And we're out of here. And let's say we got cleared all the way up to 12, which is our final altitude. So what is this airplane going to do? It is going to climb less than 250 below 10. If you wanted to speed in, it looks like it's doing 240. We could do 250. push the center of that button. It'll bypass what's in the VNav and fly what's in the window. That's called speed intervention. And we're going up to 12,000 is our final altitude. And we look down here. And we look to make sure that it said 12 in the window. 12,000. So what I expect to see now, it's going to climb up above 10, accelerate to whatever the cruise airspeed is, 310 knots. Now this is the rangefinder. It doesn't work great on this sim. For instance, there's 80, but it's saying 10, right? And we're going to set it. We want to get it out to about 80 right now. There's 80. We're on 320, so that's a little bit off. This little button for altimeters, we're going to leave it at 2992 for both ends. But if you press standard, it'll go to the standard. It usually say STD. And press it again, you get to set the local altimeter. This barrow knob does work. I just don't see it in here. Usually is down in here. Not seeing it on here right now. It sets the minimums. We're above 10, the airspeed. We'll take off the speed intervention. Airspeed will go up to 310. 11 for 12. It should level at 12 as it accelerates to 310, and we're at cruise altitude. How far are we from LaGuardia? Well, one way to tell is to go to Prague. It says we're 80 miles. We're going to be at 12,000 feet. So 3 times 12 is 36. Plus about 10 for good measure is 46. So we've got about another 33 miles before we want to start down. This number, remember that number, is going to go away here in a little while and turn into like 1,000. Just how it works. Doesn't work in the sim here. Now, I think I'm going to request direct to Yeoman, which is the FAF. So we line select it to the scratch pad, go to legs, and put it on 1L. This is 1L, that's 1R, 2L, 2R, so 1L. And normally you'd see Yeoman up there. Yes, the other guy, how it looks. Execute it, and it's going direct to Yeoman. VNav for descent on this airplane, on this model, does not work. It's gradually making its way up to 12. In the airplane, it works great, of course. So for landing, we're going to go max brakes. Normally we go 2 or 3, but for the sim here, we're going to do max brakes because we're going to be 768,000 pounds on a 7,000 foot runway. We're going to go here, look at the approach speed. It says 159. So line select that. That's for flaps 30. And we would arm the spoilers, but can't do it in this sim. So these auto spoilers, you don't arm them for takeoff in the 777. They're armed automatically. If you don't arm them for landing, but you always do, but if you don't, they will come out when you go to reverse. So that's the case today since we can't arm them. If you do arm them, they'll go up on wheel spin up. So I'll try to beat them to it. I'll try to press my spoiler key at touchdown. I'm going to try to land right at the beginning of the runway on center line, a little bit below VREF. Get the nose down, get the spoilers out, get into full reverse, see if I can stop straight ahead on the runway at LaGuardia at 760,000 pounds. So how much is it? Let's see. Index. Right now our weight is 769. All right, so we'd set the mins with the barrow, brief the approach, looking for ILS 22, and talk about any contingencies, any hazards in the area. Looking outside, call up little nav map. So here we are on little nav map, a downloadable tool, coming up on Waterbury, Connecticut. If you look out to the left, over in this area, that's Long Island, North Shore. Way off to the left, you can see the outline of the North Fork, South Fork. We're presently coming up on Waterbury. Our route of flight is going to take us north of Bridgeport, Connecticut, down over White Plains, New York, Rye, New York, as we make our approach over the Bronx. into Kennedy. I've been flying out of Kennedy for 36 years. Retire, as I mentioned, September of 2023. This is Interstate 84 coming out of Hartford. And 7 years before in the Air Force, I mentioned I'm typed at 73, 75, 76, 777. I'm currently on international. I was MD-11, A310, which is the 300-600, and the Super 80. In the Air Force, I was T-37 instructor in air refueling tankers, KC-135. So I have no excuse for making the terrible landing I'm likely going to do. So let's take a look here. I have the range in 80, and it looks like we're about 60. I said I wanted to start down at 46, so I can actually start down very shortly. If you want to look at Prague, is it accurate now? 135? No, we're 80-mile range. We're only about 60 out. We are 43 miles from Yeoman. Yeoman, we're supposed to cross at, I don't know why this is like this, 3,000. So that means we have 27 miles from Yeoman is when we would start a 3-degree glide path. But I want to be fully configured at Yeoman at 159 because I want to be really stable. Naturally, if ATC was here, they wouldn't let us do that. I want flaps 30, 159 knots, LNAV in it, and see if we can't pick up the approach as we go in and try to manually land it on runway 22 at LaGuardia. Grossly overweight. Max landing weight's 560. We'll be touching down about 690, so we're way over. This, we can't arm the spoilers. We talked about that. We briefed the approach, set the minimums. Contingencies, go around. If you have to go around, you hit toga. And then you go flaps 20, positive rate, gear up. And you're going up to your missed approach altitude, which would be 3,000 in the window when we go there. And we follow ATC instructions or come back around for another approach. Okay, so here we are. We're about 50 miles from the field. Yeoman, we're 36, and I said we wanted to start down 27, so I'm going to start us down nice and easy here. I'm going to start off by getting the airspeed back to 250. 250 below 10, so we're going to start it slow and while we're level, it'll be a little easier. Decrease this range. Can you put data up so we can see the data here? Yeoman at 3. You can also see it on the legs page, right? Yeoman at 3. Yeoman at 3 and 310. So this vertical nav has no idea what it's doing. All right, and altitude, I'm going to put in, let's put in 6,000 arbitrarily. And I'll hit flight level change, which will hold 250 when we get there. And we'll be at 250 before we hit 10, hopefully. Otherwise, I can hit vertical speed, zero it out, or altitude hold, let it come back a little further. We should be fine. So the airplane is going to try to do a 250 knot descent. We're in LNAV, flight level change, which should be idle power, and we're using pitch to control our airspeed. Right now it's slowing to 250. And we're going to be at 250 well before 10,000. Make our PA to the people, and out of 10,000 we'll cycle the no smoking sign. We'll turn the lights on as well. Cruise checks complete, pre-descent checks complete, briefings complete. Let's get the lights a little brighter. For whatever reason, I'm having trouble seeing these instruments. Kind of hazy. We'll use these switches here. There's a master switch that works in the aircraft that turns them all up. Yeah, maybe that'll help. Okay, anyway. Should be fun. There's 250 and we're at 11. Let's check our descent. We're in 40-mile range. We're 35 from the field. 35, so we're a little bit high. So what I'm going to do is pop the speed brakes. And there they are. I'll hustle on down a little bit. And how are we doing? So we're 40 miles, we're about 33 miles from the field, 9,000 feet. We're coming down nicely. 6,000. I'll further descend those to 4,000 feet. I want to be 3,000. Let's go all the way to 3, right? We'll be at 3,159 knots at Yeoman, which is the FAF, which is a little bit early. We know we got to cross Greco at 1,900. Hopefully we'll be on the ILS and the glide slope, but good luck with that. Sometimes it doesn't come up at LaGuardia. Runway 22 is a very common landing runway at LaGuardia. All right, Yeoman, okay, we don't need the speed brakes anymore. So turn those up, pick them up, get rid of those. Here we go. Let's try to slow down. There we go. Down to 3 at Yeoman. So we have 20 miles till Yeoman, and we just got a couple of thousand feet. So we're obviously down a little bit early, and my intent is to get slowed down, be at 159 at Yeoman, with full flaps, gear, max brakes, spoilers armed, but we can't arm them. Checklist all complete. We wanted to slow the descent down a little bit. Do this. Say go to 500 feet per minute. 500 feet per minute. Just slow down the descent. Now it'll do, in vertical speed, it will give priority to the vertical speed. It'll do everything it can to control the airspeed. You can actually run it out of airspeed options if you do the vertical speed incorrectly, so careful with that. Just get down to 230. Here's the reason. This is slowing down really early for in the real world. Speeds are 265 for flaps 1. So let's get flaps 1. Flaps 1 coming down. And below 245 for flaps 5. We'll go flaps 5. They're coming down. 14 miles from Yeoman. Still no approach course, and we're only 25 miles from the field. Look at the glide course. Yep, we have ILS tuned. It's definitely not coming up. Normally you get a ILS tune up here. Yep, it's not tuning the ILS for some reason. Might have to do a manual approach here. Here's flaps 10, which is at 747. If you take a look at the flap settings on the triple, there's no 10, so that's a 747 thing in the sim. Wonder if I do this, we'll go to flaps 10. Yep, it goes to flaps 10. So I guess if we can land the 777, we can land the 74, right? Now the airspeed's 210 min maneuvers. Flaps 10 is 210. So we should probably, for whatever reason, it's having a tough time maintaining the airspeed. So we'll help it out a little, right? Why don't we do this? That was just doing about 195. Runways up in this area. How far are we from Yeoman? 9 miles. I want to be fully configured at Yeoman at 159 knots. That's the FAF. It's a little far out, but we're going to get as stable as possible because we're going to do a brick 1 landing to try to stop on the 7,000 foot runway. Again, max brakes, auto spoilers should be armed, so we won't bounce, but they're not going to be armed, so we get a good chance of bouncing if we're not careful, which will add a lot to our landing roll. Yeoman in 7 miles. Let's go gear down. And flaps 20. Flaps 20. That's a good speed for now. To get to flaps 30, we're going to have to go all the way to 180. So we'll start, I'll get 180 in here. And get flaps 25, which will get us all the way down to here, which is good. We'll get down below 180. So we can get the flaps 30. All right, gears down, flaps 30. And we're going to set 159 here, which is what we're going to use as our ref. Usually it's ref plus 5, but we're going to give ourselves every fight chance to get this bad boy down on the runway. All right, so looks like we're not going to get an ILS. So what is our altitude at Greco? It's 1900. So we'll plan on crossing Greco. Yeoman at 3, Greco at 1900. That is the glide slope crossing altitude at Greco. So it's tough to see the runway out here. Oh, don't know how that happened. So we'll plan on crossing Greco at 1900. We should be pretty much able to bring ourselves down. Yep, we're not getting any kind of an ident, and we're not getting a glide slope or a localizer. So we're going to have to do this in LNAV, and we'll use vertical speed. Open up the vertical speed window. Right now it's 0. And we'll start down. Start off with like 800 feet per minute at this airspeed. And coming up on Yeoman, we're a little high, so I'll give it a little lead here. There's runway 22. You can pick up the approach lights. This is Co-op City in the Bronx. Looks like the Whitestone Bridge over here. Throgsnet Bridge over here. This is the Hudson River on this side. East side river over here. That's where Sully landed, the U.S. Air Flight. All right, there's Yeoman. Now we're going down to 1900. Yeah, get down there. Want to be at Greco at 1900. Don't need that much. Let me just use 900 feet per minute. Greco at 1900. Got 9 miles out, 2,700 feet. See this? 9 miles, 27. The field elevation's 10. So we're kind of doing a nice glide path. I'm doing a little at 160 knots or so. It's not gonna. It's gonna be more like 900 feet per minute, maybe 850.
2,500.
If you're at 145 knots, about 750 feet per minute, but a little higher airspeed. So how far out are we? We're 8.4 miles, 8.2, so we should be 2,400 feet. We're at 2,100 feet. So we're a little bit low, so I'll bring the vertical speed up to 700. All right, there's Greco. So I'm going to set this altitude down to, I'd say 100 feet. In Greco, we wanted to cross at 900. 1900. Sorry guys, I'm having to do this manually. And there's Greco at 1900. So I'll have to use about 800 feet down from here. And we'll see how the glide slope. So the VASIs. This 4-bar VASI here. It's 2 reds on the left, 2 whites on the right is on glide slope for a narrow body, but for a wide body, it's kind of a 1 and 3, 1 on the red on the left, 3 whites on the right. But we're going to try to touch down early because we're super heavyweight. We're way over our max landing weight. We don't have auto spoilers, so I'm going to try to touch down on center line in the middle on center line in the earlier part of the runway. So I'm probably going to take 2 reds and 2 whites, try to cross the threshold at around 10 feet instead of the normal 50 feet. This airplane, in normal situations, you start braking the sink at around 30 feet, as high as 40, as low as 30. We'll do it a little later here, get us down around 20 before we do it, so that maybe we can get the airplane down a nice smooth landing. Like I said, without the spoilers being armed, the biggest threat is a bounce, in which case you use a lot of runway in a hurry. But we'll get a manual deploy of the spoilers upon landing, and then we'll go max reverse, maximum braking, see if we can stop on the center line in this runway at LaGuardia. Okay, so I don't know. Can't see the VASIs yet. You know what? Maybe I can cheat. Yeah, white over white. So we're a little bit high. So let's do this. Let's go autopilot and auto throttles off. Autopilot off. Auto throttles off like that. And now I'm flying. I'm flying. And we want to do 159 all the way down. Center line. Airspeed. Power's back below 40%. Still white over white. So let's get down. Bring the power back. Get the nose over. Try to pick up those VASIs. We're still showing white over white. A little slow. It's okay. Should be picking up the VASIs any second. A little high in the sink rate. Somebody's on the runway. There's a red over white. Here we go. Pretend he's not there, okay, guys?
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Not ideal, huh? Pretend you didn't see that, all right? Reverse. No problem. I will not demonstrate taxiing anymore to you. Anyway, this is Father Time. If you wouldn't mind subscribing and hitting a like, I'd appreciate it. I'm new to the Microsoft Flight Simulator world. I'm having a blast. In retirement, I'll do a little more of this. If there's anything you want to see, leave a comment in the comment section. Thanks so much. Father Time is out. If I can find the stop